Hi everyone, and welcome to my next time lapse. This time I'm showing you the build-up of a hare in soft pastel, and this time it's on Pastelmat. If you've watched a few of my videos before, you'll know that I love to use a paper called velour, but I'm also experimenting on other pastel papers so that I can share those experiences with you. So I worked from a beautiful photo reference. I'll leave a link for the photographer in the description below, thanks to Steve Ward for his fantastic Hare reference. If you haven't already, please do subscribe here on YouTube and also check out Patreon. My channel there has lots of full-length real-time tutorials, but for now I hope you really enjoy this speed painting or time-lapse. So as always, I make a start on the background. And I was really interested to see how the Pastelmat would behave when trying to build up one of my favourite effects, the bokeh out of focus background. And in some ways it's really good, and other ways I find I had some problems. So on Pastelmat it's great because you can add lots of layers. It will accept lots of clean layers and it won't muddy too much underneath. But I definitely found that I have a lot more control on the velour for the out of focus backgrounds. But this may just be my own familiarity with the velour paper. Like with every pastel paper or every medium really, it takes a few goes until you get a feel for the materials. So never give up on a paper first time, even if you don't really like it. To be honest, I didn't really like velour the first time I tried it. So I'm always willing to give materials a bit of a chance to see if I can come up with some techniques that make the paper work for me. So a lot of time was spent experimenting on this background, seeing how crisp I could make these flowers. But it was quite challenging to create both the softness and some crisp edges at the same time. I found the main thing I found on Pastelmat was how difficult it was to soften things. Velour seems to give you a naturally soft appearance. So I spent quite a long time on the hare's ears alone. Again, it was an area that I experimented on, adding marks, blending the layers, and I found actually a lot of similarities in painting the fur with the velour paper that I normally use. I really went about this in a way that made use of all my regular techniques, building up the layers gradually. I also rubbed the layers in. I never wanted to leave any pastels sitting too loosely on the surface of the paper. So all very similar to how I work on velour. But I did find it more difficult on the Pastelmat to really achieve the softness of the fur, and I did quite a lot of blending and built up multiple layers to create that effect. And in the end, I think possibly I ended up with a more detailed and heavily defined fur than I normally get on the velour. But I'm not entirely sure that that's the look that I'm going for in my work, which I think has kept me away from Pastelmat in the past. But I have to say I really enjoyed this, and I do intend to make use of Pastelmat for some of my smaller portraits in future. I think where I struggled to get the detail on velour, I can really create a lot of crisp detail in a smaller portrait for a client. So I think I'm going to incorporate some Pastelmat into my working materials now. So that's great because it gives me a little variety in my work. I really spent a long time on this portrait. It's only 10 by 12 inches in size, but the face of the hare is quite big within the composition, so it allowed for lots of space for detail. And that's something that I'm always saying to people: if you're finding it difficult to get the detail in your work, perhaps try doubling the size of your work and see how much easier it is giving yourself some space for the detail instead of fiddling on a very small scale. So it's always interesting to do a larger head study and really get focused on all the detail in the fur. And Pastelmat allowed me so much room for detail. Each mark I made was so crisp, and as I said before, the main problem I had on it was finding a way to make those lines look a little less crisp, a little more movement in the piece, and a bit more softness to the fur. But it's possible with lots of layers on there. Everything blends really nicely together without muddying into the colours below. So all in all, a really positive experience with Pastelmat, and I look forward to making some more videos with it in the future. And I have some other papers at the moment to try out as well, some papers that I have never used before, so I look forward to bringing you some videos on those experiments too. Coming now to the final sections of fur on the body. And again, it was just as with the face, building up those layers gradually, trying to use the correct colour value, whether the area is in sunlight or in shade. And all of these things, like colour theory, I talk about a lot more in detail in my full-length tutorials. Just a big thank you to all my patrons over on Patreon who are making all my videos possible. With their support there, I'm now able to take a little more time to experiment and share those experiences with you. There will be trials and many errors, but I'm looking forward to sharing more of the world of pastel with you. So I hope you really enjoyed this and found it helpful. Until next time, happy pasteling!